Hey, everyone, and welcome to Just in the Nick of Crime. We are at day 5 of the Diddy trial, where opening statements and first witnesses have been called. A lot, and I mean a lot, happened today. I'm going to give you all the recap right now. But before we do me a solid, TikTok family. Please hit that, tap that screen. Let's get that to over 10,000. And if you are on YouTube, or even if you're on TikTok, wherever you're watching, Instagram as well, make sure to hit that follow button if you don't already, because we will be covering this from start to finish. We're going to not get into everything that I usually do in my housekeeping items, but I am going to say this. Follow me on Substack, because in addition to these recaps, if you don't have time to watch the whole thing, I am going to do Substack breakdowns as well on these. Usually in the evening, I'll get them sent out. It is a free service, free for you guys to join. You do not have to pay. I will never make people pay for content. The only people who pay for subscriptions on Substack are those who just want to support what I'm doing, which, of course, I will never stop you from doing that. The next thing is, of course, check out Real Victims. That's all I'm going to say. You can get to it through the link in my bio. That is the podcast that I'm doing with my friend Dan, who one of our next guests is going to be. We're going to have Tiger King on there, like some of those people, Menendez family, and some other great guests coming up. So make sure to do that. But let's get into what we're all here for, because I'm excited. And like I said, for my TikTok fam, if you guys want to see the sketches that came out of today, because remember, this is a federal trial. It is not televised. There is no audio recordings. There are no still cameras. The best that we get are these sketches. So if you want to see those, jump over YouTube and you can see them there. All right. So let's start with jury selection, because what do you guys want to know about the jurors? I'm sure, or you guys probably want to know about the jurors. So here's what I can tell you. All right. I'll tell you about the jurors, what we know that's been put out there. Okay. So the jury consists of 8. I got a lot of notes today, guys. So if it looks like I'm reading, that's why. There's a lot of notes today. The jury consists of 8 men and 4 women, and the alternates are 4 men and 2 women. All are identified only by number and are going to remain anonymous. The jurors are not sequestered, which I find kind of odd, which means that they're going to be allowed to go home every single night with strict instructions to avoid news coverage of the trial and the internet, and not to discuss the case with anyone else. The judge promises that he will keep their identities from being public, which is common in federal cases, particularly when they're high profile. Now, the jurors are known by their numbers, so they're not going to be juror 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Through really 18 when you look at it. They are the jurors that were called. It's the numbers that were assigned to them when they were called. So we have all the way from 2 up to 330. Okay. So let me tell you what we know about them. Juror number 2 is a 69-year-old single white male with no kids, a massage therapist from Manhattan. He's an actor and goes to the gym and gets his news from NPR. He told the court his sister experienced domestic abuse at the hands of her ex decades ago, but juror 2 says he can remain impartial. He said he believes Combs is likely to have been involved in the activities he's heard about, but he told the judge he would base his opinion only what he hears inside the courtroom. Prosecutors wanted to keep him, but the defense wanted him struck. He stayed. He's on the trial. Juror 5 is a 31-year-old Manhattan white man who works in finance, just married in November, belongs to a Connecticut country club. He said he's seen the CNN Cassie beating video, and he says he's against capital punishment. Juror 25 is a 51-year-old gay man who lives with his boyfriend. He studied veterinary medicine and has a PhD in molecular biology. For those of y'all just coming in, we are talking about the jurors, and then we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of today's trial. Juror 28 is a 30-year-old Bronx woman who lives with her mother. She said her mother used to work at a bank and would steal money from it. She's a deli clerk and gets her news from Facebook and TikTok. Juror 55 is a 42-year-old woman who works at a nursing home. Her husband also works in the same nursing home, but her son works at Bellevue Hospital. She once got a ticket for an open container booze in public, prompting a shame on you from the judge, which elicited laughter from the courtroom last week. Juror 58 is a 41-year-old Hispanic man who lives in the Bronx and works for the Department of Corrections as an accountant, processing payroll for guards. He sued the Port Authority after injuring his back on an escalator and later settled the case. He's been arrested for insurance fraud related to a car accident. He then pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor charge. Jury 75 is a 68-year-old Indian-American retired businessman who worked at JP Morgan Chase. He gets his news from CNN, Fox, and the New York Times. Juror 116 is a married 68-year-old white man, retired telecommunications field technician, and says he got his news from 1010 WINS, the All News NYC radio station. He has 2 adult children who work for municipal governments in New York. He has seen the Cassie beating video. We're almost done with jurors, guys, I promise. Juror 160 is a black woman who works at a New York Presbyterian hospital and also works with teens in Harlem. She previously helped her ex-boyfriend file legal papers in a child support case. Juror 184 is a 39-year-old black man who lives in the Bronx with his brother, works as a security guard for a social services organization in NYC, and is also a social worker for Jewish Child Care Association, specializing in child neglect. Juror 201 is a single man who lives in Westchester, working for a bank. He's previously served on a Bronx jury. 217 is an older black woman with no children. She gets her news from CBS and ABC. 230 is a 57-year-old white man who lives in Westchester and works as an architect. He said he doesn't pay attention to celebrity media, but heard about Diddy allegedly being involved with underage girls and prostitutes. Juror 234 is a 34-year-old black Manhattan man who said he's heard in the news Diddy was a S trafficker. 4 more left, guys. 247 is a 40-year-old white Manhattan man who works at a medical college in oncology. He and his artist wife have no children. 292 is a 71-year-old white woman who works as an archivist. She does not use social media. She gets her news from the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, New Yorker, and Wired magazine. Her sister is a clinical psychologist who works with transgender youth. Juror 321, and then there's one more after this, and we're done with this, and we can get into the things. Is a 24-year-old black Bronx woman who lives alone. She works for a coffee company who has seen the Cassie video, but told the court she believes she can be fair, noting that there are 2 sides to every story. She has a West African husband who does not live in the U.S. And finally, Juror 330 is a 37-year-old white man who works at the United Nations as an operations manager in the Office of Counterterrorism and works with the U.S. Department of State. His UN office is experiencing budget cuts. He said he's heard the charges in the case and is not pro-prostitution. He gets his news from the New York Times and Fox News, but specifically said he doesn't follow TMZ-type news. That is the jurors and the alternates that were selected for this case, the people who moved forwards. And again, if you came in late on Insta or TikTok, this is all on my YouTube. It is saved there. You can go watch it anytime if you missed any of this. Now, after the jury was chosen, the judge did instruct jury on law before openings. He gave a traditional example, an example that I've never heard. If you're in legal, you probably have. Talking about circumstantial evidence. And the reason that I wanted to put this in here, because we're going to be talking a lot about circumstantial evidence this year, not only in this trial, but we have Brian Koberger coming up as well. And there's a lot of circumstantial evidence there. So I wanted to kind of share this with you. And the example basically is that he explained that seeing people walking into the courthouse in dripping raincoats might provide enough proof that it's raining outside. That was what he was trying to explain. Now, after that was done and everybody was seated, we got into some opening statements. Prosecution went first and said to the public he was Puff Daddy, Diddy, a cultural icon, but to the prosecution he was something else entirely. This is the opening statements that began in the Diddy federal trial. The allegations are chilling. The person who was doing the opening statement for Diddy was prosecutor Emily Johnson, and she laid it out pretty bluntly. She said, but there was another side to him, a side that ran a criminal enterprise. She said that over the course of 20 years, Diddy and his inner circle, including bodyguards and staff, committed crimes that included kidnapping, arson, substance trafficking, crimes, bribery, and obstruction. Prosecution then moved their focus onto Cassie, who, if you guys don't know, is Diddy's ex, also a key witness, the subject of the video that most of us have seen. They said that she could testify as soon as today. She did not, so I'm going to guess that's going to be tomorrow. But they described her as one of the many women who suffered abuse at the hands of Diddy, saying that central to Combs's SA were highly orchestrated, substance-fueled S parties. Sorry, guys, we have to do the abbreviations. That's how social media is. I can't help that. I'm sorry. Saying that Combs's company paid for the parties held in hotel rooms across the U.S., overseas, and his employees staged the rooms with his preferred lighting, extra linens, and lubricant. Now, let's talk about that for a minute. Let's take a moment and talk about that. The fact that it was his companies paying for this is what gets that racketeering charge, right? He was doing this stuff that was allegedly illegal under the guise of his company, having the company pay for it. And that is where it becomes racketeering. Now, Emily Johnson continued on saying that Combs compelled women, including Cassie, to take substances and engage in S activity with male escorts while he gratified himself and sometimes recorded them. By the way, trigger warning on this for domestic violence, intimate partner violence, and S abuse. Just want to give you guys a trigger warning before we get to this next part, okay? Prosecution told jurors that Diddy once beat Cassie, brutally kicking her in the back and flinging her around like a rag doll. That was the quote. Prosecutors shared also another horrific claim of Cassie, where she said that she was feeling like she was choking Again, warning, when Diddy made an escort urinate in her mouth during a freak off. All right. Absolutely horrifically disgusting, in my opinion. They also said that she OD'd at one point at a freak off when she had an open wound on her face from the most recent assault she had had at the hands of Diddy. Then he allegedly threatened to release S tapes of her with male escorts, which Emily Johnson called the souvenirs of the most humiliating nights of her life. Now, they continued on about Cassie, other things. Prosecutors told the court about a night when Diddy found out Cassie was seeing another man, broke into that man's home and searched for Cassie. The court heard that Combs beat her brutally. They also said that Combs would beat Cassie over the smallest slights, things like leaving a freak off without his permission or taking too long in the bathroom, that he threatened to ruin Cassie's singing career by releasing to the public the videos of her engaging with male escorts. Basically, they said that her livelihood, Cassie's livelihood, depended on keeping him happy. Now let's talk about some of the evidence we're expecting here. Jurors will reportedly watch security footage of Diddy beating Cassie in a hotel hallway in 2016, possibly video from substance-fueled S parties that Diddy would call freak-offs, wild king nights, or hotel nights. According to prosecutors, these were organized events where women were given substances coerced into S with male escorts while Diddy watched, sometimes filmed, and later used that footage for control. The indictment also said that the events sometimes lasted days and participants would require IV drips. All right, this is a lot to take in. We're still in opening statements, guys. We haven't even gotten to the witnesses yet or the defense's statement. We're still in prosecutions. All right. Then there are the damage control allegations. One security guard, prosecutors say, was given a brown paper bag with $100,000 in cash in it, which is basically a payoff to make a tape disappear. And according to the prosecution, quote, "This is far from the only time the defendant's inner circle tried to close ranks and do damage control," end quote. Then they began talking about another woman who was using the pseudonym Jane. She apparently reportedly confronted Diddy last year about years of abuse. Prosecution says that he then punched her, Jane, in the face, kicked her while she was curled up on the ground, dragged her by her hair, and slapped her so hard she fell over. He then demanded that she called an escort, cover up her black eye, and ingest X. That's what the prosecutor said. Then, in a separate incident, chased the woman around a home, kicking in locked doors as she tried to hide from him in bedrooms and a bathroom, then put her in a chokehold and kicked her to the ground. They went on to say that Combs compelled women, including Cassie, to take, again, we talked about this, to take substances and engage in activity with escorts while he would gratify himself. And basically the point to all of this was that violence got him what he wanted. And prosecution ended their opening statements with, for 20 years, the defendant, with the help of his trusted inner circle, committed crime after crime, and that is why we are here today. Now, while prosecution was going through all of this, what was Diddy doing? Well, throughout all of it, he sat still, stone-faced, watching the jury, watching the prosecutors. And that's what the prosecutor said. Now let's talk about defense, because then they were up. And they started with, Sean Combs is a complicated man, but this is not a complicated case. This case is about love, jealousy, infidelity, and money. Prosecutors said that they are basically the government is trying to turn S relations between consenting adults into a prostitution and S trafficking case, saying that there's been a tremendous amount of noise around this case over the past year. And by that, she was referring to the immense news media coverage and social media chatter, saying that it was time to cancel this noise. Jurors were told that they might know him as Puff Daddy or P. Diddy or Diddy, but in the courtroom, he's going by the same name he was born with, which is Sean Combs. Defense did concede that he is extremely jealous and has a bad temper. They told jurors that sometimes he would get angry when he drank alcohol or did the wrong substances. But they pointed out that domestic violence is not S trafficking, and being mean is not running a racketeering enterprise. The jury's told that they might end up thinking, I think he's a jerk and I think he's kind of mean, but expressed that he's not charged with being mean or being a jerk. Defense said he is physical, a substance user, and has a bit of a different S life, adding that we will fight for his freedom through the next 8 weeks, saying that his S habits were part of a swinger lifestyle involving consenting adults. It was then acknowledged that some jurors might not condone his, quote, kinky S and his preferences, but urged them to judge the case with an open mind. Now, stating that those S predilections said do not equate predilections. There we go. Do not equate to trafficking. The defense is also, in my opinion, taking a little bit of an interesting approach because they're arguing that prosecutions, which I've not really heard this before in a trial, they're arguing that prosecution's evidence might actually show other crimes that he committed, but they're not proof of trafficking and the racketeering crimes he's charged with. Defense conceded that Combs' violent outbursts might have warranted domestic violence charges. His attorneys condemned Combs' actions in the security camera footage we saw of him beating Cassie at the LA hotel in 2016. His attorney called the beating horrible, dehumanizing violence, but argued to jurors it's not evidence of trafficking. It's only evidence of domestic violence. The defense then began to address another accuser, the woman identified as Jane, stating that they had a toxic and dysfunctional relationship and she willingly engaged in freak-offs because she wanted to spend time with Diddy. It was said that after hearing the evidence, you might think, wow, he's a really bad boyfriend. Defense said that the fight between Diddy and Jane a year ago, which was brought up in the prosecution's opening statement, started when Jane slammed Diddy's head down in a jealous rage. The attorney said she did not want to justify Combs' violence, but argued that the fight isn't evidence of trafficking. The defense said the alleged victims are capable, strong, adult women. Each got something from being in a relationship with Diddy, and that these adult, capable women have to take on the same level of responsibility as Diddy. When a person makes an adult choice, that is a free choice that has pros, it has cons. They made free choices every single day for years. That is what defense said. As defense wrapped up with their opening statements, she said that Combs' accusers were motivated by money and pointed to the civil lawsuits that had been levied against Diddy. She told jurors that Cassie demanded $30 million when she sued him, and another witness is going to acknowledge demanding $22 million in a breach of contract lawsuit. They ended their closing statements with this. I want you to ask yourself, how many millions of reasons does this witness swearing to tell the truth and nothing but the truth have to lie? Those were the opening statements. And then they took a break for lunch. Now, before we get into witnesses, let's talk about a couple things here. Okay. There's a couple things that I want to make sure, because I get a lot of questions about, that you guys are all aware of. All right. The first thing is that this is not going to be televised. There's federal trials. There's no still cameras. So you get no photographs. There's no audio recordings. There's no video recordings. The best we get are the sketches, which I'm showing on YouTube for you guys to see. In fact, I'm going to change it again because there's a bunch of them that came out today. I know some of you guys love the sketches. Instagram loves the sketches, so you guys will get a post about those later. But here are the things that I want to point out to you guys, okay? Number one, we don't have the witness list. And I know a lot of people have said in my comments when I'm live, like, what about the minors? What about the minors? Minors aren't part of this case. The accusations of Diddy with minors, and this is not me being pro Diddy. This is just me telling you, being very pragmatic, telling you how this works, okay? Because I am not on Diddy's side here. I think that he's guilty, and I think that he needs to go down. That is my personal opinion. But we're not talking about this from my personal opinion. I'm giving you guys just the facts. So when we're talking about the minors, those accusations were levied during civil cases. The civil cases do not have bearing or weight onto this criminal trial. However, if Diddy is found guilty, then that guilty verdict will definitely have some weight on getting those civil trials paid out and convicted. But what he's on trial for right now is 5 things. He's got racketeering, 2 counts of trafficking, and 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Okay? That is what he's on trial for. So other crimes that you see, even if they were with minors, if they are domestic violence, even if they are theft, even if it's murder, that's not what he's on trial for. So what they have to prove is those 5 things. Anything else, could it result in another investigation? Absolutely. But unless those things are proven for any of those 5 charges, even one of them, you can get any one of the 5 or all 5, then he could walk. Now, do I think that that's what's going to happen? No, I don't. I think that when you have the FBI and the feds and you have the Southern District of New York, who has 98% conviction rates, they're pretty good. That's going to say. Now, all of that said, let's talk about what happened when they got back from lunch, because that's when they called the first witness, a guy by the name of Officer Israel Florez. Officer Flores is now an LAPD officer, but in March of 2016, he was working at a Los Angeles hotel as the assistant director of security. He remembers getting a call from a woman that was in distress on the 6th floor. When he went up there, That's when he encountered Diddy. Now, prosecutors' goal for this first witness um, was basically to help introduce the recordings of Combs beating Cassie at the hotel back in 2016. Now, bear in mind, you guys might remember if you were following this earlier on, that defense tried to argue that this video was edited and incomplete and tried to get it thrown out. If you guys remember the whole CNN debacle where they couldn't find the original one and CNN had messed with it and that they couldn't use it. Well, here's the thing. That tape doesn't matter. And the reason for that is because what prosecution showed today to the jury are videos that none of us have seen. They wouldn't show that one video. They showed videos that none of us have seen. All right. Now, Flores responded that when he responded to that distress call, he came across Diddy wearing only a towel, sitting on a chair, slouched down with a blank stare, what he described as a devilish stare, just looking at him. He said that he noticed the hotel's floor display was destroyed and told Diddy that it'll be charged to his room. He then began to escort Cassie and Diddy back to their rooms. And he said Cassie indicated that she wanted to leave, but Diddy told her, "You're not going to leave." Flores said he told Combs if she wants to leave, she is going to leave. And then Cassie left. And after he left, Flores said he was getting ready to leave their room when Combs called him back. And at that point, Diddy was holding a stack of money with a $100 bill on top, telling him, "Don't tell nobody." The jury was shown the incident report that Flores wrote up and emailed to his supervisors. In that email, Flores said during the second meeting with Diddy, he returned with a colleague. Diddy automatically assumed he was being recorded, so went for his colleague's phone. At that point, Flores had to step in and pin Diddy to the wall. According to the incident report, Diddy made the revealing confession, quote, "It's just that I don't want to lose anything, and I can lose it all." Flores said he considered it a bribe and told him, "I don't want your money, just go back to your room." Jurors were then shown surveillance footage of an attack by Combs on Cassie at that hotel in March of 16, footage that the prosecutors again have maintained is a key piece of evidence in their case against him. Now, the video depicts Cassie with a bag at the hotel's elevators just before Combs rounds the corner, strikes her, and throws her to the ground before kicking her and then dragging her back to her hotel room. In all, the prosecutors showed the jury 2 cell phone videos and 3 hotel surveillance videos related to the attack by Combs on Cassie at the LA hotel. This apparently allowed jurors to see several angles of the incident. In addition to the videos, prosecutors showed jurors photographs that Flores or his colleague took of damage in that hotel hallway, including flowers strewn on the floor and soil spattered against the wall. Flores testified that he recorded the hotel's video of the attack on his cell phone because he wanted to describe what he saw to his wife and thought that she wouldn't believe him if she just told her. So he wanted to have proof to show her. Now, after Flores was done, that was basically it. He stepped down and they called another witness. And this one, holy cow, guys. Holy cow, this one's kind of mind-blowing. So the person that they called next was a man by the name, second witness, Daniel Phillip. Now, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to get a little graphic. All right. I'm going to try to keep it as social media friendly as I can. I'm going to give you a trigger warning on this. I know I gave you one earlier. And real quick, because I see somebody asking about the jury on YouTube. With YouTube, you can go back to the very beginning and read all the jury. I gave all the information on the jury, the stats, and a little bit of information about each one of the jurors. So you're welcome to go back and do that. But now let's talk about Daniel Phillip, the second witness. So he was a male stripper for women, and he was called by Cassie to meet her and Diddy at the Gramercy Park Hotel in New York back in 2012. He testified that Cassie first told him she wanted to do something special for Combs and wanted to know if he minded rubbing baby oil on her and giving her a massage. She said that it was her birthday and her husband wanted to do something special for her, so she asked me if I wouldn't mind rubbing baby oil on her and giving her a massage. That was his exact words. Phillip told the jury one of the encounters that she wore a red-laced outfit with high heels and dark sunglasses, which is consistent with the way prosecutors have said Combs demanded that women dress for S encounters. Phillip said that he realized who Diddy was thanks to his voice, as his face was covered by a bandana. Now, when he arrived at the Gramercy Hotel, Diddy reportedly told Phillip that he was into importing and exporting, whatever that means. Cassie allegedly instructed Phillip to refer to Diddy as baby. She saying, quote, she told me that I didn't have to worry about anything because her husband wasn't gay and he wasn't going to try to touch me. Phillip then said there was baby oil and other lubricants on the table, so that he was paid a few $1,000s for the encounter in which Combs was wearing a white robe and watching as Phillip had relations with Cassie. When asked what Cassie Ventura paid him for, they replied to have S with her. He also said that Sean Combs would be present when the two had S. He also testified that once Combs insisted that he take a photograph of Phillip's driver's license, and Phillip considered that to be a threat. Now, Phillip also testified that Combs subsequently hired him on several occasions for a redo of the same experience. It was now encouraged by prosecutors' questions. He then began to get increasingly graphic in detail and descriptions for the jury of the encounters. He described how Combs would direct the encounters with Cassie. He would saying, quote, he would tell us things like, slow down, y'all stop now, separate, it's getting too hot. One time he had us try to role play like we just met at an airport. We were not very good at that at all, so we skipped past that one very quickly. Diddy would often tell us, you need to rub more baby oil on each other. You don't have enough on. He would tell us to put more on. Phillip said his encounters with Cassie and Diddy could last anywhere from 1 to 10 hours. He said that after he was done having S with Cassie, she and Diddy would head to the bedroom. That I would be sitting in that room for hours, just sitting there. Sometimes they'd come out and say, okay, you can go. Other times they'd ask me if I'm ready to go again. He recalled during one of the encounters seeing Cassie slumped over, saying that I looked at the couch and Cassie looked like she was completely passed out, slumped over, half on the couch, half off. He told jurors of the first time he saw Diddy hit Cassie after a S encounter together, saying that Cassie was trying to close her laptop with personal information on display before Diddy flew into a rage, throwing a bottle at the wall after she didn't immediately come into the hotel bedroom on demand. Apparently, he grabbed her by the hair and started dragging her by her hair into the bedroom. She was screaming. He pulled her into the bedroom, and I could hear him what sounded like him slapping her. She was screaming, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. To which Diddy responded with B. I won't say the full word because, TikTok. When I tell you to come, you come now, not later. He also told his reaction after seeing this assault, saying that he was shocked, that it came out of nowhere. He was terrified. He didn't know what to do. He said that he did not intervene. He said the reason for that is that he knew that there were 4 or 5 big bodyguards in another room. And his thought was, if I tried to do something, I might lose my life. His thoughts was that this was someone with unlimited power and chances that even if I did go to the police, that I might still end up losing my life. That is what Daniel Phillip thought. He said they came out of the room. Cassie was visibly upset, did not look like she wanted to continue doing anything. But Mr. Combs asked, are you ready to continue? And he's like, I couldn't do anything after that. Phillip then testified that his interactions with Cassie and Combs came to an end after seeing Combs become violent towards her one day. He said that Cassie was sitting at her computer. Sorry, we did that. I think we did that one a second. Hold on. No, we didn't. Yes, we did. Okay, we did that. Sorry, double put that in the notes. Phillip said that between all the encounters, he was paid between anywhere from $700 at the lowest to $5,000 or $6,000 per each encounter. Now, during all of this, because Diddy's family is there, including his daughters, right? His 3 daughters, including his twins, left the courtroom and waited in an alcove outside as the testimony turned lurid and graphic. His sons just kind of put their head in their hands, looking down. This was day one, guys. This was day one. This is a lot. This is a lot. A lot to take in. Day one. We haven't heard from Cassie yet. We've heard from 2 witnesses. We know that there's at least 4 accusers, including Cassie, plus whoever else. This trial, it's going to get dark fast. I don't know what the outcome is going to be. I personally think his goose is cooked. But again, if his defense team, which he's paying a lot of money for, is able to prove that, or put a shadow of a doubt, I should say, a reasonable doubt, that this wasn't trafficking, this was just a man who's domestically violent, and he could very well walk. That's the bottom line, because he's not being charged with domestic violence. But he sounds like a scary man with unlimited wealth, unlimited power that got away for so much for so long. And I would say that 20 years, because 20 years ago is 2005, I would say we're probably looking more like 30 years of him doing stuff and getting away with it. And we know that's true if we look at my friend, Relentless Aaron, aka DeWitt Gilmore, who has a lawsuit, Gilmore versus Combs, where Diddy allegedly tried to unalive him going through the streets of Manhattan back in the mid 90s. A lot going on, guys. But this is the recap. This is the recap. So this is what we're going to be doing while this goes on. So, like I said, if you are new here, whether you're on Instagram, I'm pointing to you, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, hit the follow button. Make sure notifications are on. And Instagram, when I go live on YouTube, my plan is to go live with you guys as well, because it's pretty easy for me just to click a button and do that. So that's my goal here, to make sure to have that. All right. Anyways, that's what we have for the day. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. Now, if you came in late, TikTok, Instagram, this is on YouTube. You can go to it, watch it from the very beginning, and catch up everything that you missed. Again, we spoke about the jurors, all of them, not only, what the jury makeup is, but information about everybody, including the alternatives. So you have a little bit of an idea of who is on this jury going into this. We talked about the opening statements from prosecution and defense and from 2 witnesses. It was a heck of a day. And this is what you can expect too from me. I'm just to set some expectations. There's a lot of notes with this. Normally, I don't like to read this much when I do this and just talk to you guys directly to the camera, but I don't want to get anything wrong, especially when we're talking about what people said verbatim. So my goal for this is just to give you guys straight to the facts, what you guys want to hear, with all the information that I can throughout the day, so you hear it all in one place. Now, that being said, guys, I hope you'll have a great TikTok. Don't go anywhere. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. We'll see you guys soon. We're back tomorrow for sure. And as always, if you're watching this later, drop your thoughts about this in the comments. If you have any questions or anything that you want me to address, make sure to put those in there as well. I read every single YouTube comment because those come to my email as well. See you guys tomorrow. Bye, everyone.